It's time for Howlers and Growlers. A weekly show from our Arizona Coyotes writing pack, bringing you the latest news, rumors, trades, player grades, prospects, and much more. From training camp to the playoffs, from draft day to the trade deadline, our team covers everything ice hockey in the hot desert. So sit back, grab your favorite cold beverage, and get ready for Howlers and Growlers.
Welcome to Howlers and Growlers. I'm your host, Pat Brown, and we are thrilled to have you with us for another episode. Joining me, as always, my Coyotes line mate at the Hockey Writers, Haynes Evans. Haynes, how you doing, buddy?
Doing great, Pat. What about you?
Doing awesome. First show of the new year, so gonna get some things off on the right foot, and excited to have you join as always. We also are welcoming back a great friend of the show, also my Red Wings line mate at the Hockey Writers and co-host over on the Hockey Writers Grindline, Devin Little. Devin, Happy New Year. How you doing?
Happy New Year to both of you as well. Doing a lot better. I was saddled with the virus this past week or so, and feeling a lot better. So I'm excited to share my newfound energy with both of you guys.
Well, glad you're on the mend. I hear that's been going around.
Yeah.
So
To put it lightly.
and we had a few segments on pauses in the NHL over it. So just glad you're doing well and that you're on the mend. So in that, with given the spirit of the show, Howlers and Growlers, we always enjoy a festive beverage, whether it's adult beverage or not. I will start really quick. Going with an oldie but a goodie, one of my favorite local brews here in Arizona, Santan Juicy Jack Hazy IPA. Delicious, highly recommend. Good stuff. Haynes, what are you rocking?
I made up for last week not having a sour. I do have a sour this week. I am back with a South Carolina Zone. I am back with a Charleston, South Carolina Edmonds Oast. I have a sour apple. It is very delicious. You can't see that because my camera quality.
Are you double fisting?
There you go. There we
No,
go.
this one's empty. Don't worry. Come on now.
Solid. Devin, what do you got? Theraflu going on or something a little more exciting?
I've got a whole glass of NyQuil. No, no. I got what I call my pink drink. It is pink lemonade vodka mixed with some Sprite, and I throw a couple of pink Starbursts in there for fun. So
hey, you and me thinking the same thought. I do the same thing, Devin.
Wait, do these Starbursts melt?
They kind of dissolve at some point. You get like it gets super sugary towards the end. Yes.
You want to go one, Devin? Add a little baby ball pop in there. Go Sprite, Pink Whitney, little baby ball pop. I'm telling you, it hits different, man.
Okay. I'm jotting that down.
There you go.
Right there. The more you know. Well,
what I learned in college.
Truly the life lessons that can't be taught anywhere else other than college. I like it. All right. So let's get down to business. Let's talk some hockey. And before we dive into everything, I do want to just take a very somber moment here to recognize the life of Matt Shott, former senior director of hockey development with the Arizona Coyotes. Those of you who watch us a lot know we record on Wednesdays, and earlier today, the Arizona Coyotes hosted a celebration of Matt's life as he lost his longtime battle with liver cancer back on December 19th, 34 years old. I can't say, unfortunately, that I ever had the privilege of knowing or working with him. Very, very brief interactions, but I can't say anything like that. But I would be remiss if I didn't offer our condolences to Matt's family, friends, the Coyotes family, fans. This man had such an impact on hockey in the state of Arizona. He worked tirelessly to grow the game, both with youth, with adults, with those with disabilities, and even having not known him. The stories that you hear people tell and how he is recalled and the legacy that he left in his wake is something that, frankly, I would never match. And he is someone to be admired and revered, and just we're mourning the loss of Matt and celebrating his life today. So again, didn't want to start off too somber, but given everything today, really felt strongly that I lead off with a celebration of Matt's life. Matt, thank you for everything that you've done for hockey in Arizona. You are dearly missed, and we certainly admire the legacy that you left here in Arizona and the world. So cheers, Matt. So on that note, thank you guys for letting me honor Matt really quick. And now we're going to talk some hockey. That's what Matt would want, after all. So they are back. The Coyotes are back. They're playing. They played last night against the Winnipeg Jets, and it was a 3-1 loss. An interesting game of sorts. And it was the first time that they played at home in 2022. First time that they played at home since December 15th. And the first time they had played in over a week just in general. So there's a little rust to shake off, but looked like there was a lot of rust to shake off. Not the most entertaining of games. Like I said, 3-1 loss. Karel Vejmelka, surprise, surprise, 46 saves out of 48 shots, did everything he could to keep the team in the game. And I'm not wrong, by the way, there was an empty netter, which is why he only gave up 2, just to be clear. But other than that, not a whole lot to smile about, if you ask me. So, Haynes, I want to start with you. Your thoughts on the 3-1 loss to Winnipeg. What do you take from the game that occurred Tuesday night in Arizona?
Yeah, really rusty was the first thing there that, you said that really stands out. I mean, this team has played twice in the last 2 weeks, essentially. I mean, they could have played 3 times. The game against Dallas, as we know, was postponed because of COVID. This team's played twice. And their 2 games, they have not looked good in either one. They've looked very rusty in both. Now, the first one, grant, they scored 7 goals. But
it
they
was
also
fun.
8 goals at the same time in the loss. And the game last night against Winnipeg was one of those games, again, where they couldn't get going. They were heavily outshot, like they were the first time they were in Winnipeg, but they couldn't get going. They couldn't find any stability in the game. They couldn't generate enough chances on net, and Winnipeg just took advantage of that. Winnipeg saw them not getting those opportunities, and once they found one, got in the back of the net behind Vejmelka, they just capitalized on it, and they just pounced on top of it and just completely drained the Coyotes out of that game.
Yep, it was a tough game for sure. To your point about shots, it was 48-22. I think might have been a few more on the Coyotes side, but brutal to say the least. So, Devin, to you, an interesting note, you are actually wearing the hat of the only team to have never beaten the Arizona Coyotes. Follow me for more mind-blowing trivia. Devin, not sure. I'm never going to let that joke die until the Kraken actually beat the Coyotes. Devin, your thoughts on the Coyotes' recent play, their 3-1 loss to Winnipeg yesterday. Did you have a chance to catch the game?
I sure did. And real quick, the ball is in your court. What's cracking? You got to get your team in gear. 3 things come to mind from that game. One, just starting off with this, as much as I'm a big fan of the color red, the Kachina is definitely the superior home jersey for the Arizona Coyotes.
Those were technically throwback jerseys yesterday.
Yes, as weird as that is. 2, you kind of mentioned it right off the top. You kind of were already talking about it. Veggie was the reason why Arizona had a shot in that game.
Yep.
Another great performance by him. We've seen him have a couple of clunkers here and there, but you expect those. But in between those clunkers, he looks like a damn good goalie. So it's good to have a silver lining throughout all of this. And then the thing I do want to highlight, it was the only goal they scored, but Shane Gostisbehere, that was a nice goal that he scored. Creating space for himself, coming right off the bench, getting in there, and then just firing at home, beating Hellebuck clean. That was a great shot, and he continues to boost his value if he ends up being traded by the deadline.
Yeah, just highlighting that Coyotes never say die spirit. I mean, they lose, but man, if they don't hang around in every one of them more so than you expect it. So one more note on Vejmelka, Devin, since you bring it up and people forget, this is the first time he's ever played North American hockey ever. He's got no AHL, no OHL, no WHL, no CHL, no nothing. This is the first time in the NHL that he's played North American hockey. You got to be impressed. So really, really good stuff there. And certainly appreciate it. So let's look ahead, because as we're filming tomorrow night, the Coyotes face the Blackhawks. Devin, a team that you are painfully familiar with, writing for the Red Wings. So both teams are rebuilding. The Coyotes embraced it and went absolute Bill Armstrong scorched earth rebuilding, right? Blackhawks are doing it a little bit differently, thinking maybe they could reload instead of rebuild. Doesn't seem to be working out that great this season, but we'll see kind of what the future holds. But the truth remains, these are teams that potentially are on similar trajectories here. The Blackhawks are 11, 17, and 5. They are 12 points up on the Coyotes in the Central Division standings, but they're still the team right above them. So we're talking about the two basement dwellers here in the Central Division. Devin, you've seen a lot of the Blackhawks, not just this year, but plenty of years past as well. Your take on the two teams, are these teams on similar trajectories, or what do you make of it?
I wouldn't say they're on similar trajectories right now because, I mean, like you said, they are several points apart. I mean, the Blackhawks could theoretically go on a nice little win streak and then find themselves in the playoff discussion, whereas the Coyotes, even if they go on a nice win streak, they're still not in it. I think that, however, kind of looking into the future and projecting, I like Arizona's long-term projection a lot more than Chicago's, because Chicago took a shortcut. And I think that when you take shortcuts, it ends up biting you in the ass. You know, I read about the Red Wings and how many years did Ken Holland put a Band-Aid on his shoes? And it may have worked for 1 year, maybe even 2, but it ultimately led to that 2019-20 season where they bottomed out and won 17 games the whole year. You know, obviously the year got cut short, but not good. I think that Chicago has themselves in a situations where Columbus owns their first round pick this year. They're having a bad year, but they're not even going to like reap the rewards of having a bad year unless they win the lottery, because I'm pretty sure it's lottery protected. And then, you know, Seth Jones, he's done good points wise, but he's not making enough of a difference to warrant that price tag. I just look around and I think that team's fatally flawed, and they took shortcuts, and they're seeing it right now. And then Arizona, scorched earth, you know, they clean slate. And I think that bodes well. They can build with that in the future.
Absolutely. And to your point and your comparison about the Red Wings rebuild, you said it was mildly successful in the waning years, but how do you define success? Yeah, they kept their playoff streak going, right? But they were bounced out of the first round every year for the past, 3 or 4 years that they were making the playoffs. So it also kind of depends on how you define success. Haynes, your thoughts on the Blackhawks? Are these two teams on similar trajectories? What do you make of this matchup?
You know, I want to say when the season started, when Chicago had acquired Marc-Andre Fleury, I had a whole different thought process of how I thought the Blackhawks were going to go this season. They had brought in Jeff Jones, got in Marc-Andre Fleury on a steal of a deal after he won the Vezina, and then just the piece they brought in, I thought this is a team that would maybe be competing for a wild card spot. And for that to be completely thrown out the window as of right now, it was a complete shocker to the season. But like you said, Devin, I think the Coyotes' long-term trajectory is a lot better, and I think it's because Chicago's taking a shortcut, like you said. You got to remember this team brought in a 30-something-year-old Marc-Andre Fleury, brought in a almost 30-year-old Seth Jones, who's not having a good year. He's probably one of the worst 5-on-5 defensemen in the season. Everything is coming back to bite him in the butt that could possibly bite him in the butt. And they're almost playing what I think the Coyotes did for so many years. You bandage a problem, be good for about 3 years, maybe make a playoff in one of those years, and then completely go back and try to rebandage issues to be good for like 3 years and then rebandage an issue. And they seem to be doing the same thing the Coyotes did, but the Coyotes seem to finally realizing that's not the way to do things. And I think that's why Arizona's set up for a better future in the long run.
Yeah, I was going to say, doing the same thing the Coyotes did for 25 years or so before this year. So really good point. Super good comparisons. Good stuff, guys. Good stuff. Let's take a quick time out. Please toss us a like at home. Hit subscribe. Be sure to comment. Thank you again for watching. Check out all the other shows that we've got on the Hockey Writers Network. We've got Saber Scoop, the Hockey Writers Grind Line, Chicks and Sticks, What's Crackin', Blackhawks Banter, Prospects Corner. The list goes on and on and on. Follow us on Twitter at Howlers THW. Follow Devin on Twitter at Hockey with Devin. We've got our morning newsletter, Morning Skate. Make sure you sign up for that. We've got our Discord server. Jump on in, especially when the Coyotes are playing at home. You can chat with me right in the press box. However you want to get your hockey news, that's how we'll get it to you. So thanks again for all the support. Don't know if you guys at home saw record-setting year for the Hockey Writers this year. Over 59 million views, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. Just mind-boggling stuff, and it's all because of you at home. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it, and keep tuning in. So let's move on, because we've got some pretty interesting developments here in the Valley of the Sun. And we're going to start off with the announcement today, actually, on Wednesday, that the Coyotes finally locked down a sports betting partnership. Surprise, surprise, it's with owner Alex Morello's casino group, and they're going to launch a platform called Sahara Bets. So this is great news for a lot of reasons for Coyotes fans. But first and foremost, in this man's humble opinion, if they're putting in this work to set up the sportsbook, to get the app going and everything else, I think you can pretty much all confidently understand this team isn't going anywhere. They're not going to be putting this type of development work halfway through the season into an app just to pick up and leave at the end of the year. Maybe this has implications on their deal with Tempe as well, getting a sportsbook in the new arena that they want to build. So there's a lot to unpack here, but there's no bad news, especially if you live in Arizona and can leverage said betting app. There is no bad news to this story right now. Haynes, you woke up to the news just like everybody else did today. What do you take from it? What were your impressions of the betting app?
Yeah, I think first off, yes, I think this is kind of the solidified answer of this team is not moving. If they put all this work into this team is not.
I wouldn't say solidified, but it.
Well, helps. I wouldn't say solidified, but it puts forward that foot and puts that foot down of, hey, we are committed to where we are. We want to be here. And, just a little bit about the whole Sahara Bets and just betting in Arizona. In just October alone, betting in Arizona made $15 million betting alone in the state of Arizona. And this is
I had nothing to do with that.
No. And this is Morello's casino. So if he can make $15 million in October, how much is Morello going to make in the course of a season?
Oh, yeah.
Why would he even think of moving someone if he's going to make even if he makes 10 times or 2 times the amount of $15 million? Why would he even play around the idea of relocating the team?
Yeah, exactly. And this is what we've been saying from the beginning, right? You need a new home. You need a temporary home at that. But that license, that betting license that he got when every major sports franchise in the state got one when they passed this in Arizona, was the golden ticket, right? And I mean, who better to have that betting license than a man who literally owns casinos? So Devin, your take on, and I know this may be a little bit more raw for you, if you will, in terms of betting and things like that, but what can this do for the franchise? What can this do for the organization in terms of finally locking down that digital sports gaming license or platform?
Well, one thing that it can do that hasn't been mentioned yet is that it can potentially bring in new people to your sport and to your franchise. It's not like everybody walks around and is a horse aficionado, but whenever the Kentucky Derbies run, a lot of people are betting on horses. So if you have a hockey team that's local to you and you can bet and win some money on it, probably going to go watch that hockey team, right? It draws in people that wouldn't necessarily go to see your franchise otherwise. It brings in revenue, like you both have already said, and it also kind of plants your foot in the ground a little bit. It's not a bad thing to bring in as many revenue streams as you possibly can, especially for an owner that, just last month we had worries about his finances because they hadn't paid their bills. If you're bringing in 15 million in a month, I mean, you could pay your bills. And then it's just a way to engage with your audience. Talking about the team I cover, Red Wings put a sports book in Little Caesars Arena this year, and I guarantee that has a lot of action now. And that's just another way to have your fans interact with your team and have fun, even if your team isn't necessarily good, right?
Yep, exactly. So all really good points. I think, again, at the end of the day, this gives fans every reason to be optimistic about the future. And you look at that along with some of the other things that the team is participating in. If you haven't seen this yet, go to Twitter, go to the either Arizona Coyotes page or Jose Romero's with azcentral.com, his page. Yesterday was the first ever Spanish broadcast of a Coyotes game in Arizona. It was really cool to hear the first ever goal called in Spanish, which was obviously Shane Gostisbehere who scored. And there's a clip of it on. And speaking of reaching untapped audiences, it's no secret in Arizona, there's such a rich Hispanic culture and community. And that's a market that's never been tapped in hockey before. So those are the types of steps that fans need to see to understand the team is serious about staying in Arizona. And I got bad news for the folks in Houston and Quebec and wherever else, Kansas City, Portland, wherever else. It looks like you may have to look elsewhere to get a team because Arizona appears to be here to stay. Now, Arizona might be in the desert to stay. That said, let's talk about Jakob Chychrun. And I'm already trying to not prop up the soapbox here, but just 1 minute. Okay, we're good. But all right, so Jakob Chychrun, I don't think I need to rehash all of the trade rumors started by Friedman, carried on by pretty much everybody who has anything to say in the industry of hockey. But his name continues to get thrown around. And now not only did the rumors kind of heat up again, but in today's, I believe it was today's, maybe it was yesterday's, Athletic even, Pierre LeBrun indicated that the trade rumors or the trade talks have intensified. And of course, what does that do? But it leads people to just start grabbing things completely out of context, because I want to read to you right now a direct quote from LeBrun's article. Go look it up. Quote, trade rumors involving Jakob Chychrun have intensified over the past few weeks, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's closer to being dealt. In fact, there's no guarantee he's moving at all. If I could drop the mic, I would. I've been saying it for weeks. He's not going anywhere. They say in the article, Armstrong's asking too much. Spoiler alert, no, he's not. But that's the point, and that's the crux of the issue, right? But why are you going to move a 23-year-old defenseman with a crazy team-friendly contract with an enormous upside, who's future captain material? You're not moving him for a second rounder. And I'm so sick of these things being taken completely out of context, or people just wanting to get clicks and throwing everything out there, because it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And mark my words, if it does happen, you as a Coyotes fan at home will be begrudgingly celebrating, because the deal that made it happen is going to almost instantly turn the team around. So there's my soapbox. Wasn't too bad. I got loud there for a minute, but I had to go off for a minute. Haynes, we're going to go to you next. Your thoughts on Chychrun, all the chatter, especially Pierre LeBrun's piece in The Athletic. What do you make of all this?
Yeah, you're a tough act to follow up there, you Pat. I think I may have saw a vein pop out of the neck there during that soapbox right there. I mean, what else can we say? I mean, do we want Jakob Chychrun removed? No fan in Arizona, neither you nor me want Jakob Chychrun to get moved. This kid is captain material. He's the face of the franchise. So we think. We don't know exactly who is the face of this franchise going forward, but he's believed to be the face of the franchise going forward. Why would you move this kid? Great season last year, was a Norris candidate finalist, was not one of the top 3, but he was in the finalist ballot list and all that. He's a great player. He's got great upside, great skill. Why would you move him? But at the same time, if someone's coming for you with 3 first-round picks and a top prospect, who says no in those situations? At the same time, it's hard to be a GM in these situations because you don't know exactly what they're thinking, and they're not wanting to necessarily make the move. But if something comes along that's so good, as in like 3 picks, it's hard to say no when you're trying to think about how you make the franchise better in the long run.
Yep, exactly. And to paraphrase LeBrun's article, by the way, LeBrun stated, not only is the asking price astronomical, but it is, quote, Eichel-like, end quote. Yep. So I guess that's not I paraphrased up to the direct quote, I suppose. But needless to say, Devin, I am chomping at the bit to hear your perspective on this. So your thoughts on all of the Chychrun chatter. You wrote about it a little bit, actually. Yeah. So what do you make of this? Am I blowing this into something it doesn't need to be, or what?
Yeah, I wrote about it, and I had help from a certain Coyotes writer too. But here's how I look at this. From Arizona's perspective, yeah, why would you move this kid? He's 23, going on 24. His best years are ahead of him. He's on a down year this year. Why would you trade him when he's in a down year? All that jazz. From the other teams that are calling perspective, I get it. I would call about Jakob Chychrun too, sure. Because if you can land a guy like that, you probably should. It all comes down to the price. And if it's Eichel-esque, I mean, that makes sense for the Coyotes. Ultimately, I think you said it best, Pat. If a deal does happen, ultimately Coyotes fans should be excited about it, because Armstrong's not moving him unless it's a damn good deal. Right. And at that point, you have to say yes to it. You can draft another Jakob Chychrun. He's not Paul Coffey. And if you're a contender, I think of like a team like Boston, who has Brad Marchand and Patrice Bergeron for only a couple more years, and then they have to figure out what they're going to do. Jakob Chychrun's young enough to where he can be part of that team and be with McAvoy for years to come, and he boosts that team forward in a way that they can try to get one more cup for those guys. Yep. So in that situation, I get it. If you can sell it for Chychrun, do it. It's just gotta make sense for both sides. Now, I don't know that it ever will. Yeah,
and maybe not at this point in time. Maybe, and that's the other thing that LeBrun calls out. There's certainly no timetable this year, and you can't write a deal out of the books for a future year. He's on a really, really good contract right now that's got 3 years after this year left to play on it. So there's no incentive to move unless the price is right, and you cannot expect Armstrong to do that. So all really good points, good perspective. Appreciate you guys both kind of calling out what to be watching for, what our viewers need to be thinking about, because there is so much chatter, and it seems like every team wants a piece of it. And it just makes me sad, because everybody takes everything from the Coyotes anyway. Why can't they have their star defenseman too? So, okay. Good stuff. So let's wrap the show with a segment that we've been doing for quite a while now, lovingly calling it Tankathon 2022. And the player we're going to talk about today, a young 17-year-old Canadian that goes by the name Conor Geekie. That's right. You may recognize that name a little bit more than you think, because his brother Morgan plays in the NHL. Conor's currently in the WHL, like I said, 17 years old. He's a center for the Winnipeg Ice. And this year, 11 goals, 27 assists for 38 points. And he's a big boy. Gentlemen, 6'4", 205 pounds. He's got a shot. Got to work on his skating a little bit. Yep. He's got to work on moving around him, but all in all, a really, really strong prospect. Certainly has potential to go top 15. So wanted to talk about Conor today. I don't remember who we started with. So Haynes, because I always feel like your talking points get stolen, I'm going to start with you. And have you seen Conor Geekie's game? What would the Coyotes be getting if they end up drafting the kid?
Yeah, Conor Geekie actually is probably, after Shane Wright and I would say maybe two other guys, I would say Conor Geekie is probably one of my favorite prospects coming into this draft. He plays with Matthew Savoy, who is another guy going to the draft this year, who plays on the Winnipeg Ice, and he has to work on some skating. You did mention that, but he has got an explosive shot, and this kid is ginormous. This kid is not your typical forward you see coming out nowadays, 5'11", 6 foot, 6'1". Kid's 6'4". He's got body to him. He can pass it perfectly. He can rip a shot like no one else. This kid would be a great addition to Arizona if you were not able to get Shane Wright. What he's able to do at 17 years old is only going to grow the more he develops. And if he can get that skating down, really work on it, you're looking at a really good top 6 line guy. So definitely keep an eye on him, because Conor Geekie is definitely someone to watch out for.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Devin, we are geeking out over Geekie. So the question here is, what's your take on the young lad?
Well, he's a Canadian boy named Connor, so you know he's going to be a superstar, right?
That's a good one. I might steal that.
In all seriousness, I think the big thing is his size. I personally, I think he's what I consider to be perfect size, because he's not small by any means. And he's also not like super big. You know, when you start to get beyond 6'5", you start to think that they're going to be limited in some ways. You know, we talked Red Wings, talk about Michael Rasmussen. He's got all the size in the world, but he's very limited in his mobility and what he can do, you know, in close. Once you start to get a bit tall, unless you're Zdeno Chara, you start to be limited in other areas. So I think at 6'4", he's kind of got the best of both worlds, where he's big and he's got, you know, skill and he's able to use it. The thing that really stands out to me when I watch him play is his instincts. He seems to know when to carry the puck in. He knows when it might be better to just chip it in. He knows when it's a good idea to feed the slot. He knows when he just needs to get a shot on net. He's just the kind of smart hockey player, and he has room to get even smarter.
Sure.
And when you have those instincts, especially, you know, offensively, you can create things and you can become a real playmaker. And those skills are only going to get better over time. I think that he's going to be one of those players that will have to work on things defensively. He's definitely not what I would label a two-way forward, but that can come with time too. He's very much a moldable prospect, and a high ceiling one at that.
Good stuff. Well, I'm going to keep using that. Like I said, we're over here geeking out over Geekie. Really good stuff. Good insight. Thank you both, as always, for your insight, your expertise. Thank you at home. That is our show. Really appreciate you sticking around and checking out another one of our episodes. Do not forget, like, subscribe, comment. You can follow us on Twitter at Howlers THW. You can follow Devin on Twitter at Hockey with Devin. Make sure to sign up for Morning Skate, our morning newsletter, and make sure you check us out next week as well. That's our show. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next episode. Cheers.